What's up, Well, Mac Nostalgia? Dave here with a review of Jennie's debut solo album, Ruby. Alas, the month of Blackpink solos is concluded. Rose album back in December, Jisoo EP on Valentine's Day, Lisa album last week, and now Jennie. And it's been a great ride. This has been a very successful solo period for the Blackpink ladies. And the Jennie album, of course, has come with a ton of anticipation because Jennie simply has not released nearly as much solo music as you would expect for someone of her stature. She released the song Solo way back in 2018, and since then we've only got You and Me and the remix version of it. That's been it. Surprisingly, at least a little bit, her feature on the Weeknd song One of the Girls, that song is 1.6 billion streams on Spotify. That song kind of tick off like after the fact. Never quite understood why that song got so big. Of course, due to her affiliation with the Idol, that's why she collaborated with the Weeknd. Nonetheless, we've been wanting a Jennie record for some time. Jennie linked up with Columbia Records for her solo album, created her own label production company, Odd Atelier, or OA, and she's only doing a little bit of performances for this, 3 quick shows before she does Coachella. Not really doing too much solo work. We know a Blackpink tour is coming later in the year, but there's been a lot of hype for this. THR had the stat at 450,000 pre-orders for this album. People were locked in. Single-wise, we had Mantra come out last year. Had a good amount of singles with Mantra coming out last year, followed by Zen in YouTube music video only form in January, and then Love Hangover with Dominic Fike and Extra with Doechii in recent weeks. Jennie's debut solo album, Ruby, rules. This is what we've wanted from a Jennie solo album. After all the years, all the hype, the lack of solo output, finally getting it, and this album delivers. Ruby gives you the essential traits of Jennie's artistry, which is her swag, her attitude, her persona, and also her versatility. This album jumps around a lot, but doesn't come across as scatterbrained. What I liked most about Ruby was that the hip-hop inspiration was incredibly varied. Jennie is giving us a lot here and really making good on her previous rap status. Frankly, I think the hip hop we get on Ruby is better than almost anything she did with Blackpink. My favorite song is With the IE parentheses Way Up. That is a 2000s rap bop. She's excellent on the song. Her collaboration with Dua Lipa, Handlebars, is also great, making good on Kiss and Make Up from many years ago. I really liked almost every song on the album. I think the production, the performances, vocal inflections, the decision making, it's very interesting because it really keeps you on your toes. This is a really satisfying album. The first track is a pretty understated intro with some twinkly keys, and then track 2 is Like Jennie, which also already has a music video out. This is an interesting one. This is a rap song. You know, the hook is catchy, has these bass hits going in. The second verse, you get kind of like a different inflection, a higher energy from Jennie, and actually the only moment of Korean vocals from Jennie in the rap verse there. Outro is a bit repetitive for me, but you know, I still think a fun, you know, silly, like low stakes type song. Diplo co-produced this one, and Zico co-wrote this one, which I think is notable. Of course, Zico and Jennie had their song Spot last year become a pretty solid hit. From Like Jennie into Start a War is a complete vibe shift, and the first of many on Ruby. Love the snare drums and like the orchestral flourishes in the background. The melody, very reminiscent of, to me, what I first thought of was Night Changes by One Direction, but I actually checked the sample is White Mercedes by Charlie XCX. People have often compared those two songs together because they're very similar melodically and whatnot. Fun touch point. People are going to recognize that. Handlebars with Dua. I mean, I really like this one a lot. You know, Kiss and Make Up, which of course is a Dua Lipa song featuring the Blackpink members. That was, I believe, the first Blackpink feature, period. Certainly their first feature with anyone Western. And that's a song I like quite a bit. You know, Blackpink's not on the song too much, but it's a fun song. I mean, they actually performed it way back in the day, which was really cool. This song, though, like, Dua glides over the drums when she comes in, and the back and forth vocals between Jennie and Dua are great. the guitar, the drum on the chorus. Frankly, this is the duo energy that we needed more of on Radical Optimism last year. It's very throwback duo vocals. As a big fan of hers, like this sounded great. This is exactly what I love from her. Notably, Jennie is not credited as a writer on this song. She is a co-writer on 11 of the 15 songs, but she's not on Handlebars, but Dua Lipa and Amy Allen are. I'm curious if this was a song that maybe Jennie picked up, from the label from elsewhere. As I mentioned, my favorite song is with the IE Way Up. This song fucking rules. The hook is excellent. I mean, the shimmy shimmy ya part, when I first heard that, my mouth dropped just a little bit just because I love the hip hop inspiration that she's bringing to this. Shout out ODB. Bouncy, funky drums, horns as well. This is the first of 3 songs from producer Dem Joints, who has actually become a massive K-pop producer. He didn't start out as a K-pop producer, but now he's made, I think, a lot of big songs. I mean, recently he did Supernova from aespa, Hey Ya by IVE, Gold by ITZY. He's worked with K-pop for, I think, the last 6 years or so. He's a pretty significant figure. I think one of the most common Western producers for K-pop groups that you'll find. So actually, it makes a lot of sense that Jennie making an album with Columbia, making a Western record, she would find, working with Dem Joints easy enough. But yeah, I think this song is a total bop. This is my favorite song. It's one I've revisited the most thus far. Next up is the 4th single, I believe, Extra, featuring Doechii. I mean, talk about timing with this feature. Doechii is incredibly hot right now, coming off the Grammy win, viral performances, her latest song, Anxiety, blowing up. She's becoming a star rapidly, and this is a big feature. Now, Jennie, I love her as a rapper. I think she's one of my favorite, in the K-pop sphere. Her rapping against Doechii is a tall task. It's a ballsy move, and Doechii, unsurprisingly, really outclasses her on the song, just in terms of, pure rap ability. But I think the song still works. I do love when they go bar for bar, over that bass in the second half of the song. The chorus, I think, is probably the weakest chorus to me on probably the whole album, to be honest. The foreign cars hook, I always cringe a little bit when I hear that from Jennie. I said the same thing about Lisa last week. It just comes across a bit inauthentic sometimes when they get kind of overly flexy like that. But I think the song is still pretty cool, and Doechii's rapping is great. Mantra, the lead single from last year, frankly, is less interesting now in the context of the album, which actually I think makes it a great single because it was a great and successful single last year when it came out, and now it doesn't have to carry the album anymore because the album is giving you so much more that you hadn't heard already. I think that's like a sign of a great album and a successful single. That's a fun poppy bop, fun to perform. She obviously promoted the song a lot already. I love when the cowbell kicks in, on the bridge. The 3rd single, Love Hangover, featuring Dominic Fike. I think this song's okay. This one didn't really grab me when I first heard it. It doesn't really make a difference to me in the album. It feels kind of out of place compared to most of the other songs on the album, frankly. I think Dominic Fike's performance is good. Great example of what he always does, the way he plays with melody. Song's okay. Doesn't really grab me too much. Nice video, though, with Charles Melton in place of Fike. And then at last, we get Zen. Zen came out as a music video at the end of January, but was never released on digital streaming platforms until today with the Ruby album release. And frankly, I found that perplexing, because when I saw the Zen music video, I was transfixed. I think that is a spectacular video, probably going to be the K-pop video of the year. Just so visually interesting, so varied, very flashy, high production value. You don't really get something as overtly cinematic as like that, in most music videos. It's great. And also, I think the song itself is awesome. I think vocally, that is probably the best example of Jennie invoking Rihanna with this music. Just listen to the way she enunciates Nobody on the chorus. It's clearly Rihanna homage in a great way. I think she does a great job with it, but this song is awesome. Damn Right, featuring Childish Gambino and Kali Uchis. I think this song is fine. Surprisingly, you get the Mike Will Made It tag on this. He actually did 4 of the beats. Really just kind of sparse drums for the most part, and other percussion. Definitely a slowdown moment from the rest of the album. The hook to me is just okay. That's what holds the song back. Kali's fine. Gambino glides in. Once he switches up into rap, he does that kind of like monotone flow he's been doing of late, which is not my favorite. Song's okay. Then we switch up again because FTS is a piano ballad torch song, very sparse production. Vocals though are pretty good. I think the arrangement is good. It's just a bit underwritten to me. I think this song was punched up a little bit more. It would probably stand out a bit more. Filter, I love the build up with the production, specifically that drum progression. Another vocally varied song from Jennie, although again a bit underwritten. Soul City, I think, is okay, but very vibey. I like the second verse over the snares. Starlight, we get up tempo again. Pretty catchy hook, but vocally, I think is just okay. Probably one of the least interesting performances from Jennie vocally. The repetitive, yeah, yeah breakdowns, I think, kind of grind the song to a halt for the most part. And then the last track out of nowhere is Twin, which is this random acoustic song, but somehow is also a Mike Will beat. That one certainly felt out of place too, because I don't think we heard acoustic at all to that point. But you know how outros go, final songs, they usually do something like that. But yeah, this is exactly what I wanted from the Jennie solo album. I mean, there's been so much hype, so much starts and stops, so much, I think, really earned, waving of the fist at YG Entertainment for just really bungling managing Blackpink's solo output, just because there really wasn't any. And now that Jennie's in control of her own output on the solo side of things, this is a really impressive, body of work, and kind of reflecting back on this Blackpink solo era that's now concluded. Obviously, Rose completely blossomed and did a lot of stuff, in terms of singer-songwriter music that we expected from her from what we'd seen. Jisoo also took a big step forward as someone who we haven't had much of a musical opinion on as a soloist, frankly, to this point. And Lisa also, I think, really improved with Alter Ego, doubling down on what she does best, but also showcasing a bit more than she had before. And of course, Ruby, I think, is just the kind of the cherry on top at this point because it's just really excellent all around. Uh, Frankly, I think now there's a lot of pressure on the Blackpink return, right? You have to imagine that's the second half of the year because both Lisa and Jennie are doing solo performances at Coachella this year. Jennie's gonna wrap up these Ruby, concerts really quick. But you have to imagine the Blackpink stuff is second half of the year at minimum. And frankly, have they worked on anything? I don't think they have, right? Because they've all been working on their solo stuff, doing their own promotions, been busy. Lisa's on the White Lotus right now. She's been promoting that too. Obviously, they're so involved in the fashion world for them. Have they gone back to YG and recorded a new Blackpink album? I'm inclined to say they haven't. So, what are they going to do? Like, right after Coachella, they're going to all run back to Korea, crap out an album, and release it in July? I doubt it. So, I think the expectation would probably be like, kind of how like Born Pink came out in the fall. I think that's the most likely outcome, if not later, of course. So we'll see. But man, this has been a really satisfying journey, and I think again it's kind of speaks to the new ground that Blackpink members have been paving for themselves, because there's never been K-pop artists that have been in this position to take this control of their own identity solo wise. Obviously, the BTS guys could certainly all do this if they wanted, but they're largely staying within the big hit system with their solo work. But it's been really cool to see the Blackpink members branch out while still staying together, assuming the Blackpink stuff comes later. But yeah, really happy with this. Let me know what you think of Jennie's Ruby. What was your favorite song on the album? What song are you bumping the most? Let me know. And for more music reviews, more K-pop reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.